The Minnesota Vikings are undefeated, but could easily lose the Lions because of one area. And it's not going to make it any easier that the Vikings have injuries that are going to impact that area significantly. Let's talk about it here in this video ahead of the Week 7 matchup. The Minnesota Vikings are undefeated and leading the NFC North. But that might not matter come Sunday. Why? Well, the Detroit Lions are coming to town, and they are one of the best teams in the National Football League. When you look across the National Football League landscape at these two teams, they are both in the top 5 consistently in all the power rankings. And it depends on which one you look at, who they think is better. But it's no secret that this is going to be one of the games of the week, and you get it at noon. The majority of the country is going to be able to see this game, which is going to make things much more fun from a national discussion perspective. But one area that the Detroit Lions can really take advantage of the Vikings is in the running game. When you take a look at some of the advanced metrics in taking out garbage time. So the way to do that is it essentially narrows it down to relatively neutral situations where if the win probability is between 10 and 90%, that eliminates like those situations where the Vikings had against the Houston Texans, where they had a 90% probability the entire fourth quarter. You want neutral situations. How do you get and keep a lead? How do you build it? How do you prevent the other team from making an impact? That's where neutral situations can really come into play. So by utilizing this data set, the Lions have a significantly higher EPA per play rate on the ground than they do through the air, which is absolutely ass backwards. You talk to any analytics person, they will tell you that passing is far and away the more efficient way to run your offense. The Lions are disproving that completely by having a significantly more impactful run game in neutral situations. And that's important because end game, people are trying to just stop the run because you're trying to drain the clock. That's going to massively impact a lot of these efficiency metrics. So the Lions EPA per play on the ground is first in the National Football League at 0.203. So 0.203 points per play added just by running the football. Through the air, they're 13th in the NFL at 0.107. So nearly double. That's bonkers to think about. But when you look at it, they have one of the best offensive lines in football, arguably the best offensive tackle duo in football in Taylor Decker and Penei Sewell. And they have two really good running backs, the power back with David Montgomery and the lightning back, the speed back in Jahmyr Gibbs. And they run a very diverse running game where they utilize pullers all across the line and they confuse you. Plus, they have the ability to just punch you in the mouth and knock you on your butt. So when you take a look at the Lions run game, they do a lot of those things. And they're incredibly successful at doing so, mainly because they have the deception element. So how are the Vikings going to be able to counter that? Luckily for the Vikings, they are pretty good against the run game. They're second in rush EPLL per play in neutral situations at negative 0.349. And in rushing success rate, they are fifth in the NFL at just 33.3%. For perspective, the Lions run game is first in the NFL at a whopping 54.6% success. So who's going to break? Who is going to be the winner in this battle? It's going to be hard to feel really confident in the Minnesota Vikings here because they're going to be missing one of their best players. Blake Cashman is likely going to be out with a turf toe injury, and he has been so vital in being impactful in the running game, especially when you look back at how they held the San Francisco 49ers to just 110 yards on the ground, and he was making tackles all over the field, making impact plays, being able to hold blockers, stack and shed. But you do have Ivan Pace, who does a great job of penetrating the gap and making plays in the backfield in the hole. And because he's only 5'10 and a half, he can kind of bend underneath the arms of the offensive lineman to be able to make that happen. Not having Cashman, if he does end up missing the game, is going to be a huge factor in the Vikings being able to stop the run. But they're so good, so good against the pass that it could force the Lions to have longer opportunities in third down. And they may be able to get off the field early enough where the Lions can't march down the field with the running game. So being that they are first in EPA per play allowed overall at negative 0.318 points per play, the Vikings defense may be able to handle it. But not having Cashman is going to be a major factor, which means guys like Pace, Kamu Grugier-Hill is going to be the second linebacker. Josh Metellus, who they're going to ask to probably play in the box a lot and be able to help mitigate some of those running game instances, going to be key. The big thing is the Vikings can stop the run and not turn the ball over. They're going to win this game. They're probably going to win it handily because this wide receiver core for the Detroit Lions is not great. Sam Laporta is overrated as a tight end, and he's honestly the beneficiary of a really creative play caller in Ben Johnson. But this is not the same team that Ben Johnson's team lit up for over 30 points in both games at the end of last year. They have a significant amount more talent, and they're using that talent in a smarter way than they were able to a year ago. This defense has been dynamite. They're number one in DVOA by far. They are number one in EPA per play allowed, and they are going to attack you with the number one blitz rate. Watch for some run blitzes here, because if you can run blitz properly, that can make a massive impact on the running game. Who wins that battle in the trenches will determine who wins this football game and takes a stranglehold on the NFC North in just the second division game of the year. I'm Tyler Forness, Skol Vikings.